Okay, welcome everyone. And again, Karen, we'll just do a video and sound check. I'm just going to somebody just pop in the people online, pop in your chat if you can hear me and see your screen. Good. Okay, welcome everyone, to everyone in the room and to everyone online. You're very welcome to this seminar where we try to unpack and summarize the new F-gas regulation. The F-gas regulation was voted in late 2023, and the first kind of workings of it will impact us in five or 6 weeks' time, with the first of the bans. So what I'll just spend some time today to go through the various aspects as much as I can on the new regulation. Just working out how to use. Yeah. So firstly, just thanks to our corporate partners. We really appreciate your support. It helps our organization run well. Some of you know me, so I work for RSL here in Dublin, and I'm also a long-term member of the Institute of Refrigeration here in Ireland. I sit on the board of IRI. So IRI are the European Contractors Representative Organization. So I sit on their board, but I also am a member of the working group Refrigerants Committee. So which has been very useful for us because it allows us to stay ahead and have some voice into the new regulations. So, and in fairness to the Commission, they do approach industry, they approach the big players, they approach people like ARIA, and they ask us, what do you think? We're thinking of doing this. We're going to do this. And we did have, we didn't get everything we wanted because we wanted no bans. We wanted more time. We wanted the training to be a little bit different, but a lot of things they listen to us and they do listen to industry. But in the end, it all comes down to a vote in the Parliament, and they voted in late 2023 to go ahead with this regulation in its current form. So just take these off. Just give you just a little feel for the how long this took. So they started kind of April 2022, and then we'll see that the regulation came into force in mid 2024, and then the Irish government will have to ratify it and various parts of it this year or 2025. But it'll already we'll see some effects of the legislation quite soon. You can ignore that one. Just bear with me. So I'm just going to go forward 2 slides. Yeah, so just what I'll be talking about today is that we had a phase down. So in the 2017 regulation, they introduced a phase down. So that phase down was looking at how much refrigerant was being imported into the European Union. And they drew a line in the sand and said, okay, this is how much we imported in 2017, 2018, 2019. And said, right, that we're going to then phase that down with the target date being 2030. So said by the time we get to 2030, we'll be at a certain level. So I'll just show you what that level was. So I'll just go to this one first. So this was basically what the story was before the new regulation. So we were looking at, you can see there on the left-hand side was 2015. We had the kind of your average GWP of any refrigerant was going to be 2,250, which allowed for a 404A 507. And then basically by controlling imports, by using customs controls, heading for 2030, we're then going to have a refrigerant, kind of average refrigerant, about less than 500, and obviously much less refrigerant available. With the new regulation, you can see the red dots are the new proposed, not proposed. This is it. So this is the new phase down rate. So you see that we're actually going to go past. So I brought this just past for this graph past 2032. So you see already in 2024, 25, 26, we've got a lower amount of refrigerant allowed into Europe. Then a big drop in 2027. So we're getting right down to pretty low figures, and then even more in 30, 31, 32. And then the big picture is 2050, 0. So you see here, so quite a steep decrease in amount of refrigerant allowed into Europe, and then staying reasonably steady, but there's very little at this stage. And then by 2050, none. So they basically say by the time we get to 2050, there'll be no HFCs allowed to be brought into Europe. So
or reuse
for yes, no more for any purpose. They have said, all the way, says, oh well, in the interest of safety or something terrible happens, we'll change the phase down level, or we'll release more quota. But actually, in order to make that happen, it would have to be someone from Irish government would have to approach the commission and say, we need more refrigerant. What can you do for us? And I know when I was speaking into this 2 years ago, I basically said by that time the horse is going to be dead. You're not going to breathe life back into, the kind of saying, well, maybe if the heat pump thing doesn't work, we'll do more quota. But by the time that doesn't work, heat pumps will be either totally different, or there will be no resurrecting any parts of the industry. We have to work with what we have now. On this graph here is an interesting thing. So we've been monitoring the amount of gas leaking in Europe. So this little yellow thing is reported leaks. So we only have it up as far as 2021, but you can see that the reported leaks, they are falling, which is good. But are they going to? So it may actually get to a stage where you'll have more refrigerant leaking, because refrigerant does leak, unfortunately. So you'll have more actually leaking than's been imported. So you mightn't have any refrigerant you mightn't have any available refrigerant for new installations or for growth in the market, But that's the EU are very aware of this, and they were saying, well, start getting alternatives, use something different. And I'll be talking about that. Actually, I just have a quick slide on it here. So on the alternatives, so if you run out, so by the time we get to 2050, my guess is that by 2035, it's going to be a totally different landscape in terms of refrigerant. Probably the refrigerant producers, by the time we get to 2035, will have given up. They'll have basically said there's no market there anymore. They'll either sell somewhere else or they'll sell a different product, because there'll be so little of the product. Boy, will it be expensive? Yes, it will. But generally there'll be so little volume. I can't see why. So there'll be my guess is quite a seismic shift by the time we get that far. So yes, there are alternatives. So we have propane, which is R290. It's a flammable refrigerant. You have butane. Again, these are being widely used now. We've seen a big growth of these in the market. Are we ready for them? No. Are the manufacturers ready for them? Just about getting there. We also have some ethane. So for some of the very low temperature refrigerants like R23 and 508, the only alternative is something like ethane, or a very flammable mix. And ethane is not just flammable; it's explosive. So it's quite a different. We're getting into a new side of refrigeration. Then CO2 is an option. Very high pressure, high energy user. So South Europe, and as our temperatures are rising somewhat, CO2 is becoming less and less efficient, unfortunately. And certainly in the south of Europe, the CO2 efficiencies will actually, the carbon footprint of CO2 plant is going to be quite high. But in fairness to the manufacturers, the quality of the equipment is much better. The variable speed drives and good condensers and all that. We are actually seeing a CO2 plant today is much more efficient than a CO2 plant was 5 years ago, and definitely much more than it was 10 years ago. So we have to think about safety. The new F-gas guide in terms of training has thought about safety, but we as an industry in Ireland, we need to think about safety. You as contractors and as industry leaders need to think about safety. There has been a a big increase in accidents in propane because there's more of it around. A lot of it just to do with stupid mistakes, a little bit of ignorance, so people not knowing actually what they were dealing with. CO2 not so bad yet because not so many, but again, it's a risky refrigerant. We're putting in plant that's rated to 130 bar. 130 bar is a lot of pressure when there's a gas inside. We're working these systems at 80 bar. It's a lot of pressure. An air rifle that will kill a fully grown deer, and just an air rifle is 34 bar in the piston. So you can imagine you're sitting on with a plant that's sitting at 80 bar. So watch out, Bambi. Um, then so we have to think about flammability and high flammability. It also it'll get difficult to. The nice thing about the old refrigerants, shall we call them, is that they were quite inert. So we didn't have to think too much about where we installed them. Now we're going to have to think about what's in the space of where you're installing. So a mildly flammable or a flammable refrigerant, what's around it, where's the nearest heater, where's the nearest light switch, where are the windows, what's the ventilation like, what's the population like, what's around us, how many of them are in a line. So all that has to be thought about. And then we will have a time of some retrofitting. Just to move on to our equipment bans. Yeah, okay. Some of the slide isn't, it's okay, but yeah, I've started just actually with the monoblock heat pumps and air conditioning. This is we have some of our air conditioning friends in the room. This is a pretty drastic ban. So on small, like under 12 kilowatt monoblock heat pumps, which is probably every domestic heat pump in Ireland and a lot more of the rest of them as well. And air conditioning under 12 kilowatts that contain F gases with a GWP of less than 150 starting in 2027. It's really, really soon. We were just I've been in the industry for a while, so I went through believe it or not, the R12 phase out. I went through the R22 phase out. But we always had it's 5 years away. It's going to be 6 years away. But we're actually only starting to get used to R32, really. And now it's gone. It's so it's the really kind of a great solution refrigerant by starting in 2027 that we will not be putting in R32 split systems and monoblocks as well. So for the domestic industry, such a growing industry, we've to have this many thousand monoblocks installed in this many years, and now actually we actually have to redesign the small domestic heat pump. There are alternatives available, of course, but it wasn't quite the plan. So I've kind of highlighted there. No R32. Of course, everybody will do their very best to come up with alternatives. So you will start to see small split units, less than 12 kilowatts, will be running on propane. Again, you have all the flammable issues that go with that, and you'll see some of them running on CO2. Some of the first thing we'll start to see is heat pumps, domestic heat pumps coming in CO2. There are some around the place, but again, these are very small percentage of the market in Ireland and in the rest of Europe, for that matter. Just one that this was one we knew was coming anyway. So the small little domestic fridge. So from the 1st of January in 2026. So let's put it this way: next year is the last year that Harvey Norman or B&Q or whoever can sell a domestic fridge or freezer that has something like even 134A or anything like that. So it'll have to be a propane or butane. They're probably ready for this, but they got like 10 years notice or 12 years notice. So but you never know. Little hardware down in Ballina or someone might still have two on the shelf that will need to be sold off. Just a little summary of that here. So this is stuff we knew already. I think I've just gone through all of this, so I don't have to worry about it. No, I don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to go through all the details of this graph. It's just I put it in here just so that you'll have it in your notes when we send you the presentation. So basically you'll see where this is the little domestic fridges here. So they're gone by 2020. Yeah, oh, 2025. I think I've written that. I think that's 2025. So I'll come back to you on that. So here we see 2027 is our chillers and small monoblocks. Then the bigger ones, then the bigger split ones will from 2028. So right through to 2032, you'll see all the R32 in air conditioning and heat pumps being banned. So by the time we get to 2025, it'll all be refrigerants with a GWP less than 150. And there's not a lot of those around at the moment. Very few. So really, you're looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4 YF as your really your only options. So just to summarize a little, just what I said. So in 2027, you'll see the small monoblocks and air conditioning units. There'll be a ban on those with and you'll have to use a refrigerant with the GWP less than 150. Starts in 2027 and a complete phase out in 2032. And then starting in 2035, a full F-gas ban on split air conditioning heat pumps. So it doesn't matter what size it is. Yes, sir.
Is all 54C being considered for below 12 kilowatts, or is that gone as well?
Gone. What GWP is it?
149. It's mildly flammable, it's 149, so it's
Well, if it's 149, it's allowed. Yeah.
even after 2026.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's under 150. No, after yes. Yes, but then it's after 2035 you have that what they're saying is starting in 2035 even the 454C will be gone. Now 2035 I'll be gone as well, hopefully. So in terms of this business, so so 2035, yeah. So, then just to talk a little bit about the service bans, there's a big one coming towards us. So this is in 6 weeks' time. So sorry for the short notice. You won't be able to use 404A, version 404A to service any equipment. So that's that. So that's in any refrigeration equipment. So from 2025 on, so that really has to be used up after 2025. So that's in 6 weeks' time. If you have some 404A, you could if you could use it in an air conditioning plant if you've got an air conditioning plant that runs on 404A, because they put in another rule which I thought was kind of, it's a recorded seminar so I can't say, I thought was interesting, that they said after 2026 in air conditioning systems you can't use high GWP refrigerator, but nobody's using anything up that high in air conditioning anyway. So you kind of have this gray area now from, so 6 weeks time, no 404A in or 507 in refrigeration equipment. And then in 1 year's time, no 404A or 507 in air conditioning equipment, which nobody was going to do anyway. So then, and there's an exception. So if you're working with a plant that's running at under -50, then you can use 404A or you can use 507. It's interesting, especially for Ireland, because there's a lot of our 507 used in the pharma industry, and they're using it at below -50. So they're using it for special freezers, etc. And for them, that's important. The reason that's here is because mostly if a pharma plant wants to change anything, it can take 7 to 11 years to have something respecified or redone. So that's why that's there. And also in the military. Yes.
Definition of when you can use reclaim.
Yes. So until 2030, so you can use reclaimed 404. So, and reclaimed 404 meaning 404 that's taken out of a plant, sent back to the factory, put back in a cylinder and marked reclaimed. and brought back in.
But not
So
reclaimed and put into stock.
different. That's recycled. So you're also allowed to use that as well. So recycled is basically you as a contractor go to a site, you take out half a ton of R404A, you do your F-gas logs, you record it properly, you take control of that refrigerant as the contractor. So then you may, as a contractor, use that somewhere else. You may not sell it because it's a waste. So you can't charge your customer for it, but you can use it. So, and you can charge for the labor associated with it, etc., but not for the product itself. That's usable up to 2030. Yeah, and you got to track it really well. You got to keep your records really good. Also, your customer can decide to do that, but they keep it. They say, Mr. Contractor, please take out this refrigerant, put it into these cylinders for us, and we will keep it. So I'll take an example of McDonald's. They say this is our refrigerant, and they can use that in any other McDonald's in the EU. So, so that's the
Different companies.
maybe McDonald's was a bad, yeah, yeah, yes, no. When basically the rule is I'll use Tesco as an example instead. Tesco can say to the contractor, take that refrigerant away. Thank you very much, and the contractor can use it anywhere. So, whereas if Tesco say, take that refrigerant out and leave it on our site, then Tesco's can use that on any Tesco site because they've taken responsibility or ownership for the refrigerant. Remind me of this. Yes. That's just a repeat of what I said. So basically, for any refrigeration equipment, if you can't use a refrigerant of 2,500 or more, but you can use a reclaimed or recycled. Okay, I'm going to just move on to. There's other small little bits of bans and stuff, but again, at some stage I'll advertise this. It's all contained in your ARIA F-gas.
Service ban service as adding in or taking out, working on the existing system.
Yes.
You can move gas around the system into the receiver, but once you take it out,
yes,
you can't put it back in.
Yes, correct. Then just talk about mandatory training and certification. So again, just to give so there was a lot of debate on training. I have so if anybody would like a copy of the ARIA F-gas, we have physical copies here in the room. Please feel free to take one. You can go. We'll put it on the IRI website, or you can go to the aria.be website. So if you Google ARIA Refrigeration Organization Europe, you'll in their documents you'll see this. So all of us in ARIA took some time to make this guide. It's our interpretation of the regulation, but I think it's quite good. Just at the moment in Ireland, the way the F-gas certification works is that we have categories 1 to 4, and a category 1, so a service engineer who goes through training in Ireland or in a European, somewhere in the EU, can achieve an F-gas certification that allows them to work in the EU. And there was different levels of that cert. So you had 1, which was for the person who could do everything, right down to 4. So you 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 4 was the guy who is working in a factory and is allowed to do leak checking. So he's not allowed to break into the system, but he's a F-gas trained to category 4. The company F-gas company certification is the same as it was before. So you have to register with an organization. So if you're in Ireland, it's with FGR. So you need to, as your company, go through the steps required by FGR and be registered there in order to purchase refrigerant in Ireland, or to work on a system, David? Yes, or to work on a system in Ireland. So, and that stays as it is. So then the individual training is going to change. I'm going to have a disclaimer here. It's quite complicated. So instead of having 1 to 4, now we have A to E, and what they've done is for an A1. So basically, if you're currently holding a Category 4 F-gas refrigeration certificate, so an Irish one, which all of you would have, that allows you to work on all refrigerants. The new cert will actually, so they've done this A1, and the A1 you'll be trained. So the mandatory training with mandatory certification, which means you must be trained and you must be certified, and it won't be a cert issued by Shell, BP Oil, or whatever like that. It'll be issued by the Irish training authorities or somewhere else in Europe, and so it'll be F gases and hydrocarbons. So you'll do your flammables and your F gases together. Just to I can see what you're thinking. Just to let you know that it has to be done no later than March 2029. So your current cert does until then, but you'll have to be recertified by March 2029. So somewhere between now and then,
But there is the current cert continues to be valid for life. But you have to do the additional training
yes,
for us to accept your original cert
yes,
after March 2020.
yes.
There's a bit of a catch there.
There's a little bit of a catch, yeah. And that new cert that you do, you have to redo it every 7 years also. But your original one, it was given for life, yes. But you'll
The upgrade depends on what the new SI says, but it could take 5 or 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and then just so in case anyone didn't hear that on the just a bit of clarification there on the training. So your current certs will be valid up until 2029, but sometime between then and now, you'll have to get recertified or certified in the hydrocarbons and then the new cert, and then that training from now on with those certificates will have to be refreshed somewhere between once every 5 years or once every 7 years. So I'll just go back to the categories again. So the category A1 will be F-gas and hydrocarbons. The category A2 will be F-gas and hydrocarbons, but on smaller systems, on hermetically sealed systems. So something tells me in there that that's aimed towards the heat pump sector, because they'll be small systems, and the air conditioning sector. So it'll mean that you'll have probably, put it very simply, you'll have refrigeration systems specialists or systems service engineers, and you'll also then have small systems service engineers. Vans, lorries, agricultural machinery, air conditioning systems have also been brought into this, so that's also for that less than 3 kilo charge would cover people like that. So if you're working in air conditioning on a tractor or a digger or whatever, you're going to have an A2 cert at least, or an A1. Carbon dioxide been put in there on its own. So again, you're going to have an A1 and a B. So it's going to be like the old license for I can drive a moped and a hitch and so it'll be like the driving license. So category B will be carbon dioxide, and then category C for ammonia. So the 11 people in Ireland who handle ammonia will have to do that cert. Well, it's actually not true. There'll be probably a few hundred people in Ireland will have to do that training. Then you have recovery of F-gas only. So these are people possibly working in the waste industry. We had this before, so that you can actually take equipment back into a recycling facility, and somebody there has to be certified to take the refrigerant out of that equipment. So that's category D. It won't really affect many of us in this room. And then category E is like the old category, the old lowest category in the current certificates, which is the person who gets trained and certified to do leak checking. So to go around a factory or and not break into the system. So then I won't cover this again. It'll be in your notes. So that's just to March 2029, and then every 5 to 7 years to do refreshers. Just a little bit on leak checking. One big change on leak checking, and this is going to affect anyone who does anything on the islands in Ireland, or if you're doing things if you've got customers who are far away from you. And the 2017 regulation said that after a repair, a system was to be tested within 1 month. And what would happen was somebody would go into a system, they'd repair it, they'd get the toolkit, go out to the van, throw the tools in the van, go into the shopkeeper, get the invoice or the docket signed, and then said, right, I have to test this thing again. And they go and leak check it. Which was fine if you're doing a job in Castletownbere, you happen to be based in Dublin or wherever. So now they put in another 4 words, or it's 5 words, but after 24 hours. So you have to recheck the system 24 hours after. So there's no quick checking. It has to be recorded in your FGAS log. That's a check. And of course, the whole thing was that it's difficult to, if you fixed a leak or a major leak, the chances, what they're trying to eliminate is the chance that it hasn't been done correctly, or whatever caused it, whatever vibration or whatever is going to cause trouble again. So they want us to be rechecked within or after 24 hours. I've just put a note in there. It's exactly just what I said. So then just on the actual leak checking, we always did the leak, so that the mandatory leak checks. So these are the per 12 months, per 6 months. So just very quickly, this was the old regulation, which basically said if 5 tons CO2 equivalent, you had to do it every once a year. 5 tons CO2 equivalent is, but I'm going to just guess, around a 15 kilo system. But what they've done now is the new regulations is actually 5 tons CO2 HFC. So if it was R23 or R508, that's a very small system. But they said, or 1 kilo of HFOs, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4 YFs, etc. So without going into all the details, they basically said it's the same as last time, but they've added in the HFOs of they've added in the kilo value for HFOs. Reason being that the GWP of a HFO is very low. So if you've got something like 1, 2, 3, 4 YF, which is a GWP of 4, and you've got 400 kilos, that's 4, or 100 kilos, that's 400. So they're trying to get it into this, that would be checked every 3 months. If you have permanent leak detection system, then these frequencies are doubled. So you do it once every 24 months, once every 12 months, once every 6 months. Nearly landing. And then the last thing, interesting little thing, is a quota levy. So when refrigerant is measured in CO2 tons equivalent. So a kilo of R404A is 3 CO2 tons. A kilo of 448A is 1.4 CO2 tons. The EU have imposed a levy of €3 per CO2 ton. So, and that is from source. So when some 448A, all this refrigerant is made in China, 95% of it, the ingredients are made in China. So when it leaves China, whoever was buying it last year and will be buying it next year, they have to pay an extra, for if it was 404A, which it won't be, there'd be an extra €9 per kilo. If it's 448A, it's going to be an extra €4.50 per kilo. That's at China. By the time that gets to here, that refrigerant has passed through a lot of hands by the time it gets to Ireland. So my guess is that there'll be an increase, in the cost per kilo once this kicks in. Once people start reordering refrigerant for blending, which will be mid next year, they're going to be start paying quite a bit more. So that will have an impact here in the price of refrigerants. With 404A being taken off the market, you'll see a big demand on everything else. So now all the little guys who are using 404A for small systems will now have to start buying 448, 449. So you'll see a big increase in demand for alternatives. 442A as well as another one. So just to finish again, there are alternatives. we probably had this kind of conversation. I suppose we're getting much closer to the end now of where it's really going to kick in now. But you know, we do have our alternatives. We're probably, if I was giving this presentation 4 years ago, I would say, you know, we were 10% of our workforce are ready for this. Probably now it's more like 60, you know, percent of the workforce are ready for this. There's 40% who aren't. And that will be a part of the learning curve, part of the training. Ireland are not brilliantly set up for training. We do have trainers, but it's quite limited. It's a difficult. It's different. So somewhere like Italy, where you've thousands of service engineers to train, then you can set up a training center and away you go. But in Ireland, it's difficult. You know, the only way I think it would financially make sense is if you've got every service engineer in Ireland to train in a 6-month period, and then just somebody open a training center and close it after 6 months. I think that would be the only way to make it work. So yeah, the Institute, of course, will keep you informed. We will help with training. We'll help with safety training, and thanks again to our sponsors. Thanks to you. And if anybody has any questions, please make them easy.
Or 32, you mentioned below 12 kilograms. Is there any
12 kilowatts?
Sorry, 12 kilowatts. Sorry. Is there any talk about phasing out the higher capacity units?
Yes, it's a 150 GWP. Oh, higher capacity. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's in 2035 or something, or 2032. Yeah. I don't. 2035. Yeah. 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 Say that again.
With all the 14 kilowatt system?
Yes.
One at 9.
Yeah. Yeah, so someone has asked online, is the future of refrigerant going to be CO2? I don't think so. I think small systems it's going to be propane and butane, and I think in larger systems it will be CO2. In the heat pump sector, CO2 is not great because if you're doing you don't get the CO2 on the warm side, likes a nice a big differential between the temperature on and temperature off. So if you have like a normal boiler is producing hot water at 82 degrees and taking it back at 71, CO2 system doesn't like that. It would like to take it back at 60 something, whereas a propane can do higher temperatures. So propane and butane will do higher temperatures over a much wider temperature range. So that's just, so yes, CO2 will be much more popular, but and ammonia will be more popular, but propane will take up a lot of the market, small systems. Yeah.
In your opinion, for the VRV and VRF market, which we have a massive market here in Ireland and across Europe, in your opinion, from doing all these meetings, after 2023, when we think R2 is going to be gone,
yeah,
what's the alternative? Because CO2 is going to no good to VRV or VRF at the moment. So is there talk of an alternative?
Yeah. Yeah, on the cooling side of things, it'll be secondary systems. Yeah, so you'll have chillers for cooling, and for heating. Yeah, you'll have the heat circuit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. Yeah. So just a comment from the floor there that hydrocarbon blends will be you'll start to see them and will become quite useful.
I think,
Okay. Yeah.
no other training centre, there are only 2 training centres. One in Shannon, which handles all the apprenticeships. And that apprenticeship program is being rewritten at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. And then you have one up in County Louth, which handles about it can handle about 6 engineers a week, that's all.
Yeah.
It's quite small. Noida Centre is set up to handle explosive or flammable equipment. And of course, the big block there will be going through QQI with the new programs. Setting them up is one thing, but actually getting their course certified through QQI can take years. We've been trying to set up the fire course. And I think so far I've been working on it for nearly 2 years. And it still has to go through the program. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2029 is very close as far as the training centres are concerned. I think Shannon handles about 150 people a year.
Yeah.
And they're still doing changeovers from City and Guilds to a QQI cert. So, companies are quite slow at checking their engineers' qualifications. And Statutory Instrument 404 of 2022 introduced fines for not having the correct certs. And in fact, what we will be doing is we won't be accepting companies anymore that have City and Guild certs on their payroll. They'll have, before we'll issue a cert, now every engineer will have to have a QQI cert. Otherwise, we're going to get into this alternative certification as well in the next couple of years. So our certificates will become much bigger. So yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I think if probably as the Institute of Refrigeration, we will have to talk to the government to say, listen, we don't have the training facilities, then, and it's their responsibility. So on that
note, there are plans for 4 centres of excellence: one in Cork, one in Limerick, one in Dublin, and one in Sligo, which is in the process of being rolled out.
Okay.
So people won't have to always go to Shannon.
Okay.
To do the gas training.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, and we're seeing talk of CO2 rigs for the training centres and propane systems for training centres, which is vital. So. Yeah. So obviously they can be used for until 2035. That's not the right slide. Oh, I'm working on 2 computers. Actually, I will work on this computer. Just give me a second. (2032). You're good for your, and so the bans for the above GWP 150 start in 2032. So the outlook for the short term is good. For 448 and 449, they're both 1,400 GWP, so they're kind of half of what's the 404 and 507. So, but come 2032, then they'll start to be banned. So it's a whole 8 years, 7 years. Okay.
Well, we took all contribution to that of new regulation.
Just to read the last line of the question again. Even on marine, so some of the bigger fishing boats are using ammonia. They'll probably they'll do the same as the land-based. So it'll go the A2Ls. Yeah, mildly flammable on a boat is the same as mildly flammable anywhere else. Same with CO2. There's the safety standards on marine are much higher. They're much more careful because they're in an enclosed area, but this room is an enclosed area. So so the to say the outlook or the future will be on boats. You're going to have A2Ls and CO2. So for all types of refrigeration. David, you had a
Yeah, that's fine.
yes, Don.
In conjunction with this, we also got this proposed PFA ban, which would affect HFOs.
Yes.
Thoughts and opinions on that?
The PFAS, which is a totally separate environmental question. So these are trifluoric acids, which have been measured. We're measuring them, and they've started to the quantities in the world have started to rise in seawater, freshwater, rainwater, and the TFAs, which they're used in everything from your coffee, your waterproof coffee mug, you know, the McDonald's sorry to pick on McDonald's wrappers, you know, this kind of waxy paper, PTFE tip, lots of washers and gaskets and lots of linings, waterproofing of clothes, and it all ends up in the ground and it's not going away. So it's actually, they haven't given us, but it's in our bodies now. So we have much more TFA in our bodies than our grandparents would have had. It's also used in the manufacture of 1,2,3,4 YF. And problem with it, whatever about sticking it in clothes and in disposable coffee cups, putting it in a gas, is you're really speeding up the. But again, I'm not an expert on what the quantities are. The fact of the matter is that in 2025, the EU will discuss the PFAS bans. In 2028, they'll come up with a plan, and probably by 2030, we'll see. So you may end up, yes, if you put all your eggs in the 1,2,3,4 YF basket, you might be. They mightn't be so good by 2030 or so. So it's a totally different ban. It's totally separate part of science and everything from the F-gas. So we could see it actually. So the people who are looking at PFAS, people who are looking at F-gas are saying we've got a thing called F-gas here doing this stuff as well, but they're on a much bigger thing. So it will affect us maybe sooner rather than later. Declan?
The natural refrigerant lobby, the organizations pushing ammonia, CO2 and hydrocarbons, are very active on that. They're very active warning on the impending PFAS issue. A new body was set up there last week to try and pull all that all those heavyweights together. And they're saying, look, don't let this happen again a third time. You know, you got it on the ozone, you got it on greenhouse, don't make a mistake again.
Yeah.
And now obviously they've a vested interest, they're saying go natural, but they have a point.
Yeah. Yes, David.
With regards to monoblock heat pumps, domestic heat pumps.
Yes.
Basically, the people who installing these have no knowledge whatsoever of refrigerant. And it's like a suitcase, they just drop it on the ground. So who is going to be servicing this equipment in the future if they're putting in 30,000 heat pumps in the next few years? I see that as a huge danger to people that are going out to install it. I mean, even with split systems, we're seeing that the builder is buying the pipework. He gets the plumber to put it in, which is illegal. He goes and buys the equipment, and maybe 6 months or a year after the thing is installed, which is now full of water, he brings in a fridge man to evacuate the system and charge it. Like I see, you know, it's a potential problem.
Yeah, it's a good point. So it's, I suppose the point David is making is that the heat pumps are generally being installed by either mechanical service contractors or by plumbers, because it's actually their realm. Their realm is the realm of heating. And you do have, this happened in France 10 years ago, where actually heat pumps were basically everyone, you know, they were installed so badly that I think even if, as far as that, again, I'm just giving my opinion here, but the whole market collapsed. People said we're not having these heat pumps, none of them work. I think the government said we agree. So you can really do, on a national level, you can cause a lot of trouble. Also, then from a safety point of view, if these systems have propane in them, and a lot of the people installing them haven't been trained, even in the positioning of the, you know, like a boiler, you can put it under the ground or wherever. So you know, just the whole idea of heat exchange, of an air-to-air heat exchanger, doesn't, they haven't been trained on it in terms of where to put it. I'm looking around. The number of heat pumps are sitting on the ground. I know it only snows every 5 years, but if your heat pump is under the snow, you're going to need a new heat pump.
Again, a lot of them have been screened in as well. So
Yeah.
you've got recirculation of the air.
Yeah, so you're getting terrible inefficiencies. One good bit of news: ARIA and the Heat Pump Association are started talking to each other, so that will actually filter right down to us. So we do need to talk to. We'll have to talk to the European Heat Pump Association and the Irish branch of that. So we, as the institute, will talk to them and say, listen, you know what, we need to talk together. We need to probably either proper training, but most likely actually was split the market into, say, you know, refrigeration service engineers, fully qualified, need to service, and possibly in certain ones install these. It's a very hard one to make on a monoblock, so it's a hard argument on a monoblock, but on a split heat pump, there's no argument. That's a refrigeration. Yeah.
With the monoblock, the problem is that anyone can buy it.
Yeah.
You can go down to the merchants and pick one.
Yes.
Huge problem.
Yeah, and it'll be when the propane heat pumps arrive. There's no F-gas legislation even to try and combat. So
Well, I think now what's coming in is that, let's say a builder wants to buy 100 monoblock heat pumps. He will have to prove that he has an air conditioning company, certified air conditioning company, to commission them before they can be sold to him. I think that's in the new reg.
okay, even if it's propane. Okay, I have to find that. Okay.
They're under safety legislation. They're not under environmental regulation. Propane.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. So it'll be under safety. Yeah. It won't be F-gas. Yeah. Okay. Steady. Trying to work out which one it is. Yeah, it's at the minute. If you ignore the PFAS thing that's coming towards us, it's a low GWP, very low GWP refrigerant. So it's got a long future in the. It's well under the 150. So it is a long future under F-gas. So it's a good refrigerant, very low pressure, very low boiling point. So in the winter in Ireland, you can actually open the cylinder and nothing will come out. So you got to heat the cylinder up. But in from a PFAS point of view, I'd be concerned. And then 1234 ZE is used in very big, expensive chillers. So you're talking like megawatts and hundreds of kilowatt chillers. So it will be the PFAS may be a problem. So okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And our next seminar will probably be I think it's in February. And we'll have the IRI Corporate Partners Lunch some stage in January. Thank you.